A lot has changed since then. You know, as a lot has changed for us in the last 2 years, 3 years. You know, I remember we
for us in the last 6 months.
We played here, and we played the Paradiso upstairs in '99, December of '99. That was our album had just been out a month, 5 weeks in the States, and we came here. And Macy Gray was playing the big room that night downstairs. And I'm like, oh, God, I want to, I'll be glad. I remember I played here in 92 with the Beastie Boys. We were up here, but we went up there in that little small room and we fucking rocked, and the people that were there got it. They loved it. And we had a great time. So it's great to be here.
I mean, Rage Against the Machine started off in a small room in the Paradiso, too, and so did you, too. So, I mean, whatever. But you guys really had to conquer, right? I mean, a lot of people didn't get the record at first, I guess.
There was a plan involved. We deliberately came out with Toxic and Darkside as our first two videos and our first two singles, even though they weren't really treated as singles in certain countries. In the States, they definitely were, and not just in the States, and I think in Germany too, a couple of places. But we were going out of our way to build a fan base of people who would get, what we do, people like us, and that we didn't want to just go for instant success, because it was really important to us that we were going to be able to continue to make whatever kind of music we want to make. Not just if we would have come out with Butterfly first, it would have been like, okay, where's the next Butterfly? And then if to come out with something like Toxic or Darkside after that, then people would be like, what's that? But now, because people understand that we're sort of this unpredictable entity that's like more than happy to make like, a catchy, tune that we like, thank God everybody else likes it, but we're also going to rip your face off with something in like 7/8. So, it's cool. Like, there's not really, the expectation is that we're going to do something cool and you don't know what it's going to be. And neither do we. And so that's
my next question. Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Hey, but don't you mind that like a lot of people know you, especially a lot of young people know you because of Butterfly, and they don't really know your roots and they don't really know the other songs on the album.
But the thing is, like, A, that's why we do like what we're doing, sitting right here, is so people can find out the story. And B, the other thing is, like, we're pretty fed up with the whole boy-girl band thing. And so the fact that we're selling records to that audience, and not just singles, but selling albums, like we move albums, we're turning people on to a style of music that they've never heard before, and it's probably the first real music they've ever heard, where the people who are playing it are the people who wrote it and the people who produced it and the people who died and sweated for years to try to get to this point in time. And so those kids that buy the record for Butterfly, they come to the our shows, and they're as excited for us to play Lollipop Porn or B-Boy 2000 as they are for us to play Butterfly. So I think we're really turning on that whole audience to something totally different than what they're used to, and hopefully a good deal of them will go out and seek out more real music, because you can hear the difference between a two-dimensional pop song done by studio players, which has nothing to do with the faces that are attached to whatever, and what we're doing.
Don't you think it's strange that if you have a good single, you easily sell so much more records than by touring your guts off for like a couple of years? I did an interview with the Sugar Ray a couple of years ago, and I loved their first album. Then the second came out, and then they had a huge hit with Flying, and they were like, yeah, one hit in Flying did more for us than touring for 5 consecutive years.
That's just there's the avid music listener who's going to seek out music that means something to them, and that's like probably the three of us sitting here. But a vast majority of the population isn't like that, and music isn't as important to them as it is to us. So they're only taking what's fed to them, be it MTV or, real middle-of-the-dial radio. And so in order to reach those people and have them even know you exist, something has to cross those paths, and then you could bring them into your world. You know what I mean? But you could tour. Yeah, I mean, you can do it through touring. I mean, bands like Metallica and Slayer, they get no radio play. Metallica does now, but they used to not. I'm talking about back then. Yeah. And they sold records, and they certainly packed. They sold tickets too. So there's different ways to go about it. But in today's culture is so pop oriented, and the choices on your middle of the dial, like real mainstream stuff, is generally you get like 8 choices a quarter. You know what I mean? So if somebody like us fools can jump in there and give them something, then that's cool. I mean, we want as many people as possible to hear what we're doing.
I was actually surprised that Limp Bizkit was so popular in the States. I mean, I was like, when their first records came out and when Korn and Deftones came out in California, I was like, the first time I heard that, I was like, this is really loud stuff in your face. This will never be played on radio. And there you go, they get airplay too.
But that's the story of touring. Like, you know, Limp's first record, they were on the road for an exceedingly long time. They did every single tour that they could possibly do, and they opened up for bands that already were selling records and bands who people already knew. And they brought energy and they brought something that they cared about to the stage, and they rocked. And that's what made Limp Bizkit happen, is all the touring they did on that first record, on $3 Billy All, which is a cool record, but it doesn't sound very good. But then that set up the whole thing that happened with Significant Other. It was all the touring they did and hanging out with people and being humble and being down. You know, that's what set up, you know, their next record.
It strikes me that a lot of American bands really want to work hard for their music. And it looks to me that like a lot of European bands go like, well, whatever, we just play a tour here, play a tour there, play a gig. American bands really have a drive. You agree?
I totally agree. You got to understand. I mean, I can't really speak for what it's like in any other country. Though we've spent some time there, it's not like we grew up there. There's a huge amount of competition in the States, and there's a lot of people who want to do this, and there's a lot of really good people that aren't even getting the chance. A lot of really, really talented people, which, you know, should be humbling for any American musician, knowing that there's people that are probably just, or if not more talented than you are, that you know never got this shot. So don't turn around and say, I'm not doing this interview. Who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Be glad anybody wants to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we've all been doing this for too long to be flippant about it. You know what I mean? It's like there's some reason that we've spent our lives doing this, that we've sacrificed relationships and so much shit to be able to do this, that, you know, we're not going to suddenly think, you know, oh, we're now important because we have a hit single. It's like we've made lots of cool records. You know what I mean?